Get the figures from your holiday wishlist at BigBadToyStore.com. Check out the link in the description below. Why, hello there, collectors, and Merry Christmas to you, because this is going to be uploaded on Christmas Day. Yeah, how about that for planning? It is Steven here, and I have a very appropriate review for you with the last SH MonsterArts figure to be released in 2017, and it is Godzilla 2017. After the absolute debacle last year of the Shin Godzilla SH MonsterArts release, Bandai finally has a chance to show us, hey, we can do the newest, latest, greatest Godzilla design really well, and you need to buy our new hype figure, right? Right, yeah, so that chance that they have, are they able to capitalize it, and should you buy it? Well, let's take a look to see whether or not it's worth adding into your collection. Something that I need to make absolutely clear right off of the top of this review. The sculpt on this figure is phenomenal. There are tons of tiny little itty-bitty details in this figure, whether or not it would be on the skin of Godzilla, or even hidden in some of the dorsal plates, or even in some of the stylistic choices in the engineering on the tail that makes the tail kind of look like blades that make the figure look awesome. However, those of you who have been in the action figure game for quite some time know that a terrible paint job can absolutely obliterate the visual quality of a figure. And while I do have to say that the paint job on this Godzilla is not necessarily that bad, it is not very good. Yeah, I know, of course, it can't be an STR review without something that I have to bring up, but once you take a closer look, chances are those of you with eagle eyes, you've already seen this, you're going to see exactly what I'm talking about. So when we begin things off looking at the head, we can kind of look at the eyes a little bit. They're very small and there's not much detailing in there. They kind of look like a grayish blue, but something you're going to notice is the seam running down right in the middle of his face, right in the middle of the head there, which isn't very good. However, the teeth and the is that a beard? I wonder why a Godzilla would have something that looks like a beard. Anyway, they're great. They are sculpted phenomenally, even the little teeth that he has. You can also see nostrils, which is really cool. But yeah, that seam that's on the head, not very good. Now, we also do have a very, very different tongue in the mouth, which is kind of a dull, muted orange color. I really do like this. It's a nice thing to see details like this included in the figure because there's no slop here. Which brings me to the next point that I need to really bring home with this figure. There is pretty much only one color on this figure, green. Okay, so maybe there are different kinds of greens, like a lighter green and a darker green, but you get my point. The figure is all green, and as you look over the figure, you can see that there are splotches of green paint pretty much everywhere. Doesn't matter where you look on the figure, whether or not it's on the arms, it's on the hands, it is on the chest, it is on the thighs, it's on the back, it's on the sides, it's on the ups, it's on the downs, it's on the feet, it's on the ankles, everywhere. There are small green specks of paint, and I don't know why this is there. It's almost as if the paint didn't dry thoroughly, completely, and it just pulled in those areas for some reason. Why this has happened, I don't know. Admittedly, this is probably a little bit better than the paint chipping that came with Shin Godzilla last year, but still, this is something that should not be present on something that costs nearly $100 at retail. Yeah, not very good. However, like I said before, the sculpt is absolutely phenomenal. He really does have a, I don't know, let's call it a tree-like texture to him, almost plant-like. It is very cool. It definitely deviates from the traditional Godzilla designs, but even still in that regard, he looks as great as those other Godzilla designs that we've seen. Also, another note, those knees do look very weird, don't they? Right. All right, so the next point for paint that I actually have to give them credit for, but also immediately take credit away from, would be the dorsal plates. So they look like leaves, and it is actually fantastic because the outer row actually have a metallic sheen to them, both of them. But the middle row, they're kind of dull, which, I'm not a big fan of, but still, they look good. So as we start off in the center, they look a little dark, and as we get towards the tips, they're actually a brighter green, which I do think looks cool here. Nice and shiny, great. That's where your eyes are going to focus in on. However, as we go down the back of Godzilla and through the tail, which also looks amazing, by the way. The tail tip actually kind of looks like a blade. Everything just gets dull. And it's not just a subtle transition like you may see in some NECA figures. It's just at this point, at this dorsal plate, we switch over to the dull paint. Why? I don't know. Just because we said so. Yeah, so that's about it for the paint. Another thing really quick to mention, and this was also mentioned in a couple of other reviews that I've seen, it looks like Godzilla has some random hairs on him. Not like human hairs, but like something from a cloth. Yeah, I've got this on mine too. I always dust my figures before I review them, so this way you are seeing them as accurately as possible. But yeah, this guy's got white specks on him. Don't know why, don't know how, and I really couldn't clean them up myself, so yeah, they're there. Anyway, to sum up the sculpt and paint section, the sculpt is great, but the paint job, there are just so many small things that build up that you can see on the shelf from maybe across the room that just make you scratch your head and go, what did they do here? All right, so Godzilla's articulation here, it is relatively awesome. However, if you do not like gaps and if you are frustrated by stuff falling off, then this guy might not be for you. What do we have? The mouth opens and closes. Standard hinge, just like that. One issue I have seen, albeit very, very few instances of this, is that the mouth does not like to stay closed. It'll just like to fall open like that. Yeah, I've only seen it 2 times in total, surprisingly, but I don't know what the issue for that might be. But the head plugs in a neck here on a ball joint. Just one ball joint here, so this way you can get Godzilla to look way up just like that, look left and right, and even look down with that. There's also a ball joint that connects into the shoulder area, so this way you can really get Godzilla to look from side to side. And like I said, we do have gaps here. And since I am making mention of the gaps as an issue, you know it is a problem. Because normally, I'm pretty cool with them. But here, yeah, that is definitely something they should have thought things a bit more through on. So we do have ball joints at the shoulders. Now, we do have 2 pieces of plastic here that act sort of like sleeves or covers, if you will. On the left one, the left arm, here, this one has been known to sort of float around, and it's happened to me a time or two where it kind of just goes to the underside of the arm, and it looks like it's not even included on the figure at all. At first, we thought maybe it was a quality control issue for some units, but that's not the case. If it doesn't look like it's there, just fiddle the arm around, and that will come out. Then we do have the bicep swivel, so this way you can move Godzilla's arms and twist them and turn them and all that good stuff, so you can lift them up about that high, so you can see them moving around there. Hey-oh. So that's nice. Obviously, double elbow hinge, and pop go the ball jointed wrists. These things love to fall off. Yeah. And it's a nightmare because they're very small ball joints. They're double ball jointed at least. So there's that. But sometimes they'll come misaligned either in the hand or actually on the wrist, and you have to line it up, and you can't see where you're lining it up, so that is a pain. So we do have a joint up here, which would be the ab crunch, if you will. It's a little difficult to move on mine without moving anything else, so it's hard to isolate it to show you just that range of movement. So we do have a ball joint in the waist down there, so you can get Godzilla to lean forward a bit, back, side to side. But as you can see here in the chest, that does reveal a big old gap, and that can definitely be hard to line up with the rest of the body, so this way you cover it up. And sometimes it just likes to seat a little farther back, leaving a nice gap there, and this portion of the sculpt hides in that gap, which unfortunately is not good. And then you do have a gap back there. So the way that it works, it's actually kind of like a cover, because there is a cut here for the arms. So, yeah, kind of weird engineering there, but you can get Godzilla to rock from one side or the other, and you can really get him to lean forward. You can get some good leaning action there, like that. Just got to move the arms out of the way. So, yeah, that's pretty cool. Hunchback Godzilla. We do have ball-jointed hips. You can even pull them down. So if you're familiar with the 1995 mold, you can get that here. Now, the knees. We do have ball joints here alongside a hinge. Mine were really stiff and they didn't want to move at first, so Maybe just apply heat if you need to, and then you'll be able to get them to move. So we have a ball joint plugged in there, a ball joint plugged in there, and then your hinge for forward and back movement. We have a ball joint mid-calf shin area and a ball joint at the ankles. So this way you can get Godzilla to do the Chad stride, like I've mentioned before in my unboxing. And then, of course, we do have a whole bunch of ball joints all the way up to this section here on the tail. Now you can get it to go and bend just like that and pop off, of course. Various reports of the tail having loosey-goosey joints there. They like to pop off. But anyway, yeah, you can get it to bend down like that, but upwards because of the construction. Not too much there. Side to side, most definitely. Like, that's really cool. But up, nothing doing there. So Godzilla's articulation is really, really neat, but they didn't think about the aesthetics here, and yeah, you can get some unsightly gaps if you're not super duper careful with yours. So yeah, you just gotta fill around with it, and not a fan of the hands. Not really a big fan. Overall, articulation solid, but I do think they could have maybe worked it a little bit better. Fun to pose, but yeah. We do have a couple of drawbacks that I do think I need to call this one out on. Now, for accessories, we don't get a beam, we don't get any tanks, we don't get a mini forest diorama or anything like that. We get an illustrated card by Hiroyuki Sashita. I think I'm pronouncing that correctly in the bottom right-hand corner there. Looks like this was in April 2015 when this was made, so I'm guessing this is concept art for this particular Godzilla. You can see Planet of the Monsters, Monster Planet, I don't know. You kids keep changing the name of them on your different Facebook pages. It's kind of annoying. But anyway, neat design. It's cool to see the design process, but I don't necessarily think it's fitting for an SH MonsterArts. We did get the poster version Godzilla 95 mold that came with one of the cards. That was pretty cool, but yeah, you know, I really do think that they should have, here's the back of it. You know, it is what it is. Not for sale. I do think they should have included something else for an accessory. I mean, this is a nice novelty item, but this was not in a bag or anything in the box. It was just kind of thrown in there, so it's clear that Bandai didn't really care about it either. Yeah, you know, we have to go the extra mile to get it framed, to get it taken care of. I don't like that. Mine's already kind of scuffed up just a little bit. Maybe you can see that right where my thumb's at. It looks like there's a little streak mark on it. Yeah, not good. So yeah, they didn't really care about it, and yeah, I mean, I'm sure this was, you know, they paid out the to get the rights to this, but yeah, it is what it is. But if you are looking to maybe expand your accessory collection and maybe get a beam effect to go along with your Godzilla, I do have a couple of options for you, and I can make some recommendations. And if you're interested in that, there should be a card popping up in the top right-hand corner of your screen. So go ahead and click on that now. And because Bandai did not help you out in this situation, I absolutely can myself. So for accessories, yeah, the card is neat in concept, but in execution, I don't know, maybe half the people who are going to buy this will like it. Also of note, it is only for the first production run, so if you do not get this card, it is not a part of the first production run. And of course, here is your size comparison where you can see that yes, this is a very big Godzilla figure. However, some of the early shots that we saw of this guy were definitely misleading and showing that this was the biggest Godzilla figure that we were going to get in the SH MonsterArts line. While he is big, I'd say he's about approximately, I don't know, a little bit bigger than the GMK Godzilla. Big, but he's not going to dominate your shelf. So, buy now, skip, or wait for that deal. The design team tapped to make this figure happen. They did a great job with the sculpt. However, at the factory level, painting this and getting it made, not very good. The articulation, I think it works. We can get Godzilla into a ton of fun poses, but there are so many different gaps and whatnot that people who were upset with previous figures in the line will absolutely hate this figure. And even me, I'm completely forgiving for some of the other figures that people hate, I think it's kind of unacceptable, especially at this price point. For the accessories, that card, admittedly, it's cool, but to be honest, I don't see how that's sort of a benefit for the figure, especially when Bandai themselves didn't do anything to protect it in transit. So, yeah. Overall, I would have to say that this isn't an amazing release. I'd have to say it's somewhere around mediocre. If I have to give it a score, I would have to say floating, if I were critical, a 6 out of 10, but reasonably speaking, a 7 out of 10. Now, something quick, I just want to make note of this at the end of the review. People are freaking out over a first production run limited edition. Don't worry. At the time of this review, only one production run of this figure has happened. There will only be a reissue once Bandai announces it on their website at tamashi.jp. So until you see a reissue announced, all of the ones in the market will be the first production run. Okay, kids? Okay. That being said, is it worth picking it up now? Well, I don't know. Personally, I'd wait to see if you can get one good deal before you decide to get Anime Godzilla. Well, folks, that's the end of this review. Thanks for watching, and be sure to follow me on social media to catch more behind-the-scenes shenanigans and updates. The end card should be popping up now with more hand-selected STR goodness for you to watch, so check out some of those videos. Be sure to check the description, too, to see where you can buy this figure or others like it, and some cool links, like the credits for this video, and other ways you can help out the channel. Thanks again for watching, and I'll catch ya in the next video.